Alright, so the Premier League is back, and hopefully I'm a little more correct about my predictions this year. This season had a lot more interesting transfers, so we can only wait for what this year has to offer. I also may be super wrong at the end of the season, but before somebody tells me I don't know ball, don't worry, I'm well aware of that. By the time this video has been published, week 1 may already be in the books, so if some of my predictions age poorly already, that's why. I mean, what's more to explain? Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And remember, if we get to 200 subs by the beginning of September, I'll give away a 25-26 kit to a lucky subscriber. We're so close, guys. Just 18 more of y'all to go. Anyways, let's get into it. I have in last place Sunderland. Ain't nothing happening here. I guess they'd still gain a few points with experienced Prem players like Granit Xhaka and Simon Adingra, and maybe Atletico Madrid player Reinildo, who did okay for his time there. There's no more Joe Bellingham, who is crucial for their promotion push, so I don't see a possibility they survive. I mean, there's Tom Watson and Enzo Lafay, who was a French league winner. Both players were very good for Sunderland last season, and manager Regis Lebris may seem like a good tactician, but he is on a team that renews their manager every single season. They haven't had a manager who stayed for more than one season since Steve Bruce in 2010-11. Despite their underwhelming squad, their rise to the top in the past 8 years is nothing to forget about though. Still, last place. In 19th, I have Leeds. Now look, these guys aren't that much better. The only reason they aren't dead last is because they have more players with Premier League experience, albeit not by much. Man, honestly, I'm just going off vibes here. Also, they did finish on top of the championship, but I don't know if that'll do them justice. I do think manager Daniel Fark has a good footballing philosophy, as he's found a lot of success in the past 2 years, but here's the thing. He can either get sacked by Christmas or stay at the club for another 2 years, which isn't a good precedent for a team that wants to stay up again. Players to watch include keeper Lucas Perry, who replaces Ilan Meslier, who, let's face it, made a lot of stupid mistakes that cost the team points. Anton Stash, an up-and-coming midfielder from Hoffenheim. Altanica, an extremely versatile midfielder. And forward Lucas Mecha from Wolfsburg, a former Man City Academy player. We know how well those guys turn out. Sooner or later, they'll realize that there's levels to the Premier League, which will be a very humbling experience. And to finish off my relegation candidates, I have Brentford at 18. Yeah, it's not a good time to be a Brentford fan. Losing Brian Mbeumo, Mark Flecken, Christian Norgard, and possibly Jon Wisa are all signs leading to the end of the world. Thomas Frank did a great job with this squad, but can we say the same with Keith Andrews? This is his first time being a manager after getting promoted from technical coach. If he doesn't get the sack, that itself would be impressive. The best way I can compare this is like throwing a kid into a lake and telling him to teach himself how to swim. I guess it isn't even that bad considering he was an assistant manager most of his career. So that kid has a life jacket, I guess, and it won't be such a foreign concept to Keith Andrews, even though they are very different things. Now look, the losses will be always bigger than the gains, so let's see who they brought in. Queeman Kelleher, I think I said that name very wrong, I am very terribly sorry, will be a good addition. He's always been class when he's played for Liverpool, but how will he do with minutes? I think it'll be bang average personally. And Jordan Henderson in the big 2025. This was super unexpected, but I do think his experience will help them finish not dead last. I mean, he was a Premier League winner after all, but there is only so much one man can do. Players to watch include Kevin Schad, who I think will be the squad's best player if Wisa does end up leaving, and Mikkel Damsgaard, who I thought would earn himself a move this summer, but I guess his time will come. But yeah, Brentford 18th. It's not going to be a good season for them. And surprisingly, I have Burnley surviving at 17. I think this is the first time not all 3 promoted teams go back down, and Burnley have not much to offer, but maybe just a little bit. None of their players stand out to me, but bringing in names such as Martin Dubravka from Newcastle, where he gets more playing time, and Kyle Walker, 6-time Premier League winner, and will help the team win games by bolting down the sides and putting in crosses. But these players' performances will all be doubts, as the majority of the people that come in have been rejected from a better club. Will they prove their former clubs wrong or right? There are rumors on Christian Eriksen joining, and if this was 2020/2021, this would be a superb move, but it's 2025 and and watching him play, he can barely run. He's also 33. I guess that's up to Scott Parker. Speaking of, everybody who has question marks about him are right to do so, as the last time he was in the Prem with Fulham, they got relegated, and he only managed 12 games in his last gig with Club Brugge. So this can turn into Parker's ultimate demise, or what I want to happen will be his redemption, surviving in the Prem. In 16th, I have West Ham, and these guys are the ultimate definition of a paper tiger. On paper, this team looks great, but at the end of the season, they did finish 14th. It's funny how I said the same thing last year and said they would get 7th. Oh, that aged really poorly. If West Ham want to fight for Europe again, Graham Potter has to go, man. Alphonse Areola isn't super reliable. Hopefully Mads Hermansen can do the job, although he isn't much better. Both the defense and midfield aren't anything special, just mid, with standouts such as Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Thomas Soucek, and Lucas Paqueta. The forwards cannot all rely on Jared Bowen to score, as Mohamed Kudus and Mikel Antonio are both gone. How is Nicholas Fulkrug only gonna score 3 goals as last season's striker? I guess that's why they brought in Callum Wilson, who I don't think will make a difference when Fulkrug does become fit again. And what happened to Crescencio Somerville? Only 1 goal in 22 games due to injury? Yeah, I don't know about this one. West Ham may also be fighting for relegation as well, but their midfield, which thank God, is the most consistent part of the team, and Jared Bowen should prevent that from happening. And in 15th, I have Wolves. I'd also panic a little if I was a Wolves fan, but not as much as Brentford fan should. Losing Ryan A-Nouri and Mateus Cunha, their best players, will definitely take a hit on them, but not to worry, because Jurgen Strand Larsen is joining on a permanent deal from Celta Vigo, as well as Fer Lopez, and John Arias something, I don't know, was a very important player for Fluminense, so only 17 million euros is low-key a steal. Wolves still have players like Hwang Hee-chan and João Gomez, and I also think the manager, Vitor Pereira, will have it under control. At least it wasn't Gary O'Neill at the wheel, otherwise these guys would have been relegated by April. Overall, not much to say, but unless something really drastic happens, there's no need for them to be worried, and they can enjoy lower mid-table with ease. And in 14th, I have Bournemouth, who have taken a great drop from last year. Sure, you can sell all of your best defenders, but will the replacements be better? Probably not. Milos Kerkez, Ilya Zabarny, Dean Huijsen, and Kepa are all gone, and they are a good part of how Bournemouth finished as high as 9th. To their credit, with the 100 million euro profit they made, they brought in George Petrovic, who is an up-and-coming keeper, helped Strasbourg in their push for Europe, Bafode Diakite, who was decent for Lille, and Adrian Truffert from Rennes. I guess that's defense sorted, and as I've said before, it won't be as good. 2 of their best midfielders, Ryan Chrissy and Lewis Cook, are both out with injuries, and it isn't known when they'll return, so that is a big weakness other teams will exploit. Up front, Antoine Semenyo, Dengo Watra, Marcus Tavernier, Justin Cliver, and Evan Nielsen are all great options for scoring goals. Andoni Iraola is a great manager, and since the transfer window is open till the end of August, I'm excited to see what players he can make Prem level. I should clarify that anything can change as the transfer window is not closed yet. This placement may seem harsh, but can we really be surprised if this happens though? In 13th, I got Fulham. There's no action, no transfers going on here, man. That's why they are all in a similar position for me. All they've done this summer is sign a backup keeper for 500k, but even if they don't do anything anymore, they've still got a decent lineup, I guess. But when everybody else with a similar caliber as y'all actually do something and you do nothing, there will be ways to slip. Bernd Leno, good keeper. Joachim Anderson, underrated for Palace, and he's done fine here. Anthony Robinson was easily one of the league's best left backs. The midfield's pretty good. Emil Smith-Rowe had a great first year. He just needs to, play more. Tom Kearney's doing just fine, and Sander Berg is defensively solid. The attack consists of Alex Iwobi and Raul Jimenez, who can basically get into a team like Crystal Palace or Manchester United. Unless Marco Silva takes Pep Guardiola's brain into his own body, there will be little to no difference. And another surprise, or maybe not, I have Everton at 12th. For a team I thought would be in a relegation dogfight, Everton have surprised a lot of people and finished 13th. They've got a new stadium, so maybe a new era follows. David Moyes knows what he's doing with his transfers and will hopefully give them new life. Jack Grealish didn't get too much playtime at Man City last season, and he is definitely an upgrade over Jack Harrison. Kieran Dewsbury Hall got barely any game time as well, but he he was crucial during his time at Leicester City, so surely he has a little fuel left in him. I mean, he did get himself a goal in the Club World Cup, so it's got to count for something, you know? On the other hand, they let go of their best midfielder, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Ashley Young, to be fair, he is 40 and can play his own son, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is already on his way out as he wasn't the same guy as 2021. All for free as well. Ain't nobody want these two. That's crazy. For those remaining, there's the England #1, Jordan Pickford, who for sure can be a little mistake prone but mostly reliable. James Tarkowski, Jared Branthwaite, who are absolute units of defenders, up to players like Iliman Ndiaye, Dwight McNeil, and Beto, who aren't the most prolific goal scorers in this league, but what other big name can you get to come to Everton? Overall, defensively solid, but questions still remain about the attack. Trust in David Moyes, people. You guys saw what he did last season. And in 11th, I've got Crystal Palace. If you predicted these guys to finish higher, I wouldn't blame you. They've already come off the FA Cup win and started this season with a Community Shield as well, but who knows if they'll have such a miraculous run again. I mean, their best players are rumored to leave. They still got Dean Henderson, who saved this Palace team a bunch. Marc Guéhi and Maxence Lacroix are two great center backs. Daniel Munoz had the top assist in last year's squad, and I think he'll do great again. Adam Morton hasn't had the best season, but I'm sure he'll get more playtime as we've seen how good he can be. We've also got Daichi Kamada and Jefferson Lerma, who are crucial for initiating attacks and keeping the team defensively solid. If Eze stays, which I think he will, Ismail Assar and Jean-Philippe Mateta and Eze are racking up 30 goals together. This is also their first time balancing Europe, so fatigue is going to take part in them placing this high. They've also called up a lot of academy players, so it's kind of a mixed bag here as they either get minutes or are going to get loaned out in the winter. And not to anybody's surprise, Manchester United is 10th for me. And look, it should work, but it doesn't. Even with Mateus Cunha, Benjamin Sesko, and Brian Mbeumo, who have all been great transfers, Ruben Amorim's side will still find a way to mess up. They'll do better than 15th, but they'll have to get rid of the players that play like balls. You need a goalkeeper first off, as Andre Onana is injured and when fit still plays like he's injured. Matthijs de Ligt probably hates his time there, and why is Tyrell Malacia still here? He hasn't played a game for them in like 2 years or so. Just like sell him for like 5 million. Manuel Ugarte and Casemiro, Saudi/MLS is calling. You guys have had great careers. Let Kobbie Mainoo and someone else do the job. Also, let's not waste time with Vape Boy here and Jadon Sancho and Anthony, as they will never see the light of day again on the Old Trafford pitch. Why are you inhaling the cheap Chinese chemicals anyway when you're in a position that requires you to run the most? And the less said about Rasmus Højlund, the better. Positives include select defenders like Harry Maguire, who basically redeemed himself, Lenny Yoro, Nusayr Mazraoui, Patrick Dorgu, Diogo Dalot, and even Luke Shaw. And the two best players that are still here, Bruno Fernandes and Amad Diallo. These two will be excited when they see Šeško is able to finish a ball when they pass to them, but this will low-key be another clown show where Sir Jim Radcliffe has to sack more faculty cleaners and disregard the rat infestation in Old Trafford in order to buy more players in the winter when the squad eventually collapses and Ruben Amorim gets the sack by winter. 9th, Brighton. Nobody hates Brighton, especially Chelsea, and knowing them, they'll possibly pull a young baller out of thin air. I'll name 5 who will get themselves a big move in 4 years or less. Charamplos Kostulas, Oliver Boskogli, who's a Dutch league winner, Maxim de Kuiper, Tom Watson, and Diogo Coppola. They've lost some significant players like Joao Pedro to Chelsea, Pervis Estupinian to AC Milan, and Evan Ferguson to AS Roma on loan, but I think they'll be fine. Investing in the future is Brighton's signature move, so if Fabian Herzler was able to do it last season, then they can still have these young fresh legs and fight for Europe this season. On top of that, they still have standouts like James Milner, bro, still going strong, Kaoru Mitoma, their best player, Jorginho Rutter, and still in the big 2025, Danny Welbeck. Most people past 35 would already play in their retirement league, but look at Milner and Welbeck here. Impressive, I must say. There's probably only like 10% of the players that are over 30, so they'll make profit for a long time. The books are good. Now let's see if the players are during the season. And in 8th place, I have Spurs. You can't fool me. Sure, winning the Europa League is great, but how do you bottle being 2-0 up in a Super Cup? Just the history of the Tottenham, am I right? That's actually not even bad for new manager Thomas Frank's first game. He already wants to bring in some promising players such as, like I've mentioned before, Eberechi Eze and Savinho from Man City. With what he's already done, he's already gotten Mohamed Kudus from West Ham, and what a vital move as he was a shining star in a dull West Ham squad. Matthias Tel joins on a permanent and João Palhinha on loan comes from Bayern Munich to help bolster the midfield and attack, as well as Kevin Danso on a permanent, who's done okay for Spurs, I guess. All of these are good transfers, and if I was a Spurs fan, which thankfully I'm not, I'd put full trust in Thomas Frank, because even without Heung-min Son, this team will do just fine. But he will need to act a little quicker as all of his best wingers, attacking mids, Radu Dragusin and Destiny Udogie are all injured till who knows. Who else can he bring in? Still, they have strong players from back to front with Guglielmo Vicario, Christian Romero, Mickey van de Ven, who won them the Europa League basically, Pedro Porro, João Palhinha, Rodrigo Bentancur, Yves Bissouma, Archie Gray at times, Pape Matar Sarr, all the way up to attackers such as Brennan Johnson, Wilson Odobert, Richarlison, and finally Dominic Solanke. But there are teams in a much better position, so 8 sounds reasonable, especially when I predicted top 6 for these guys last year and went on to finish right outside of the relegation zone. To be fair, they could care less about the Prem, and it worked as they did win the Europa League in what was possibly the worst final of all time. Okay, I'm done now. 7th, Nottingham Forest. I'll never doubt Nuno Espirito Santo again, even if he's had a shaky manager career before last season. Their defense is pretty solid with Matt Sells in goal, as he did lead the clean sheets chart at one point. Nikola Milenkovic, Nico Williams, Ola Aina, midfielders like Elliot Anderson, Ryan Yates, and Morgan Gibbs-White after Evangelos Marinakis forced him to stay. And the flanks are looking nice with Callum Hudson-Odoi, new transfer Dan Ndoi, watch out for him, as well as a plethora of options up top from another new transfer in Igor Jesus to Tayo Awayini to the big guy himself, Chris Wood. Do you guys remember the day I said Forest would be fighting relegation? Hopefully not. But I don't expect them to do as well. I mean, they kind of did slip at the end of last season and only got Europa League football because of the multi-ownership rule, sending Palace to the Conference League. They've also lost Danilo and Anthony Elanga, 2 very good players, but it won't be the end of the world. If I could only see what this team would become last year. And the first team to qualify for Europa League is Newcastle. Who does Alexander Isak think he is? How are you going to refuse to play when they are the ones paying your wages and putting food on your table? It seems like nobody wants Newcastle these days. Benjamin Sesko, Joao Pedro, Liam Delap, James Trafford, you name it. This team has done well last year and kept most of their core players like Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Tino Livramento, Bruno Guimaraes, who basically runs their midfield. Sandro Tonali looked good for the time he's come back. No more bet 365 for that man. Anthony Gordon and a newly transferred Anthony Elanga who tore it up for Forest last year. There's really not much to say, but Eddie Howe should navigate this team to the European places just fine. But due to some of the younger players being hot property, who knows if anything will change halfway through the season. But unlike some of those who rejected Newcastle, I think it's become a good team to develop in years to come. Honestly, who in their right mind would reject Europa League football for a team that's placed 15th last year? 5th, Aston Villa. They've done pretty well for themselves last year, so this year should be around the same. They weren't really active during the transfer window, only signing Nice forward Evan Gesend, Brest goalkeeper Marco Bizot, and Yazin Ozkan, a defender from the Turkish league. Questions are still looming around Emiliano Martinez, who may be on his way out to either Saudi or Man United. So even though the GK position is a question mark, there are so many others to look out for, like Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres, Luca Digne, Matty Cash, Amadou Onana, John McGinn, Yuri Tielemans, Morgan Rogers, who had a fantastic last season, and hopefully Ollie Watkins doesn't leave, as he was one of the best Prem attackers last season. I think Unai Emery can do his magic once again and have a great chance at winning the Europa League. And the first team to qualify for the Champions League, I've got Man City in 4th. I don't like putting this team so low for their standards, but there are teams that are better than us, and we are currently going through a rebuild. Things do look promising through our transfers as James Trafford returns a better goalkeeper after a phenomenal season at Burnley. Ryan Ait-Nouri was one of Wolves' best players, and we needed a left back desperately. We can only do so much with Josko Gvardiol. Johnny Reinders was an absolute gem at a struggling AC Milan, and Ryan Cherki is just pure magic on the ball. I don't think they're quite finished though, as rumors for Real Madrid's Rodrigo and PSG treble winner Gianluigi Donnarumma are still in the air. I know we're Man City and we have like a lot of money, but this signing literally makes no sense. Pep Guardiola wants a ball-playing keeper, and clearly Donnarumma isn't that guy, but rather a shot stopper and dominant in the air. Those qualities are necessary as well, but if we sign him, James Trafford is going to waste his best years at City, and nobody wants that. And for departures, Ederson might be on his way to Galatasaray, and despite saving us multiple times, he's also had his fair share of mistakes, and now seems like the right time to go. Kevin De Bruyne, never forget about him, one of the greatest Prem midfielders of all time, and he's probably cooking at Napoli. Jack Grealish, instead of rotting on the bench, hopefully proves himself to Everton and comes back a year later. And the same as Vitor Rice to Girona, who I'm sure many forgot about in the winter transfer window. I've also heard Savinho could go to Spurs, which I'm kind of mixed on. He can do anything but score, but that's still not really a reason to sell him. He's only been here for 2 years, and besides that, you can pick out majority of the players in the team, and I can say one good thing about them. That is how good they are. Players I'd like to see play more include Claudio Echeverri, Nico Gonzalez, and Abdulkadir Kusanov, who barely got any play time, but when they did play, they looked decent. When time comes, Pep will cook, and hopefully I'm proven wrong in a good way, but top 4 is more than reasonable. And in third, not second, I've got Arsenal. There's no more second place, but no title either. Mikel Arteta has made some great signings, but will that mean anything if they keep parking the bus? It might not. But it is a good start, beginning with the age-old tradition of buying Chelsea rejects in Kepa and Noni Madueke, Christian Mosquera from Valencia, Christian Norgard from Brentford, a promising midfielder, Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, and we cannot forget about Victor Gyökeres. The hot property striker has found his new home. The top scorer in Europe, direct, can take free kicks as well. Not many strikers can do that. I'm already cringing when AFTV does the mask celebration. These gooners, man. Stupid gooners. This video doesn't do any justice either. They didn't really lose anybody except for, I guess, Thomas Partey. The less said about him, the better. And Jorginho, so no harm done there, I guess. Because look at their squad and tell me this isn't winning the league. It isn't, but it sure is out close. But back-to-back Golden Glove winner, David Raya, the best center back duo in the league in William Saliba and Gabriel, left back options with Ricardo Calafiori or homegrown Miles Lewis Skelly, Ben White at the right back, and a midfield 3 of Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, and Martin Zubimendi, and a front 3 of Gabriel Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, and Victor Gyökeres. Most expensive squad for a reason. However, I'm gonna be a little different and say that they won't finish second, and who knows, maybe I'll get this one right. For second place, I have Chelsea, world champions, sure, but that doesn't mean they can win the Prem. I do think that a lot of people underestimate Chelsea because even though Enzo Maresca had a shaky start, he managed to bring out 2 trophies to become the Club World Cup and Conference League winners, being the only team to win all 4 UEFA trophies. They've also brought in some names to bolster their squad, and I can comfortably say that their attack can go against any team's defense, making them super entertaining to watch. You've got Joao Pedro and Liam Delap, who carried Brighton and Ipswich Town on their backs respectively, Jamie Gittins, who's good at Dortmund and can be great later in the future, Jurel Hato from Ajax, a pacey and young left back at only 19, and Esteval, only 18 and one of the best wingers in the Brazilian league. I miss that time when players were older than me, not the other way around. Watch out for the midfield and attack, with Moises Caicedo being the best CDM in the league last season, Enzo Fernandez having his best season at Chelsea as of yet, and Cole Palmer, their best player and the pinnacle of their success. Up top is a plethora of options with Jamie Gittins and Tyreek George on the left, who I think will have their best seasons this year. Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer occasionally, and Esteval will cook for the Blues. And at the 9, you can choose Nicholas Jackson, I'm kidding, Liam Delap, or Joao Pedro. Speaking of Jackson, he, Christopher Nkunku, and Mykhailo Mudryk need to find other clubs stat, because even though they're on fat contracts, they'll never develop into the player they've been praised about before coming to Chelsea. Great players on a great team, but won't be my predicted winners though. And finally, you've guessed it, my champions are Liverpool. Obviously, there's depth all over. In goal, you could choose either Alisson or Georgi Mamardashvili, both good first choice keepers, Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk, all you really need at the back. great fullbacks in Milos Kerkez, Andy Robertson, Connor Bradley, and Jeremy Frimpong. Midfielders like Ryan Gravenberch, who was the most improved player last season in a lot of people's eyes. Alexis McAllister, Florian Wirtz on what was around 150 million euros. He will be worth the money. He may not show it right away, but he will be worth the money. And Dominic Szoboszlai, wingers including Cody Gakpo and the best player in the league, Mo Salah. Federico Chiesa will also get more playing time after battling many injuries, and Hugo Ekitike to replace Diogo Jota, may God rest his soul, and potentially having Alexander Isak, Newcastle's marquee player, alongside Ekitike. It pains me to say this, but Arne Slot is the new best bald manager now, and for these reasons, they're the league champs once again. Alright, all done. Thank you guys for watching my video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments, what do your predictions look like? Am I wrong about anything? And don't forget, we are so close to 200 subscribers. I said this at the beginning of the video, but you can win a 2025-26 jersey if we get to 200 subs by early September. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a friend, and peace.